It is all over in Dublin, and it turned out to be a thrilling finish between the Vikings and the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers and company, first ever NFL game in Ireland. And Alex, it certainly looked early like the Steelers were going to put this away. Kenneth Gainwell had a big day.
Yeah, this was a big storyline, I think, in this game, their ability to run the football. We haven't seen it the first few weeks. It was nice to see it get it going.
And then second quarter, Randy, you've been asking for DK Metcalf to get involved, and boy, does he here on an 80-yard touchdown.
Man, the thing about this is look after this man gets the ball. Who's going to catch him? One thing about him, you know about DK Metcalf on the outside, but if he's able to work the middle, that's a complete wide receiver to me, man.
14-6 Steelers at halftime. Now we go to the third. Same score. Carson Wentz looking for an opportunity here. And Teddy, what do you always say? Picks and overthrows.
Got to get those.
TJ Watt.
Right there. TJ Watt getting the tip ball. Interception. TJ Watt and that Steeler defense got into Carson Wentz 6 or 7 sacks.
That was Wentz's second interception of the game. Then Gainwell takes it in for his second touchdown of the game. And the Steelers have a 21-6 lead, so it's over. Right? Wrong. Fourth quarter, it's 24-6, but Wentz not giving up. Xavier Scott going to find his way to the end zone. Look at Carson Wentz, Alex, finding time, moving in the pocket, and the nice toe tap there.
Yeah, great catch in the end line, bringing him back. This is what we've seen Wentz do over his career. He's a good athlete, obviously has a good arm. There's a nice find there in the back of the end zone.
Vikings go for the two. They get it. 24-14 now. Ensuing Steelers possession, Rex, it looked like Aaron Rodgers talked Mike Tomlin into going for it, and they don't get it down by the goal line.
Yeah, shoot, I don't blame them. They've been punching around all day, but it gives this team a chance.
And that's exactly what they take advantage of. That's Jordan Addison, an 81-yard gain. Addison gets taken down on the 1-yard line, but the Vikings are in business. This drive would stretch out to a 4th and goal. Basically, ball game on the line here with 2 minutes and change remaining. Wentz rolling, finding Jalen Naylor, touchdown. It becomes a 3-point game. Steelers then would get the ball back. The Vikings were trying to manage timeouts. Ultimately, the Steelers wind up punting. 40 seconds remaining in the game. That's Carson Wentz getting called for an intentional grounding on a first down play. It looked like a good call from here. And so that would set up this 4th and 18 final chance. Vikings, Carson Wentz, a prayer, and it is not answered. Broken up in that Steelers secondary. And so maybe closer than it felt like it needed to be for a Steelers fan. But at the end of the day, 3-1 is 3-1. The Steelers a 3-point win, 24-21. Let's bring it out here. We have full reaction to what turned out to be a thriller. Randy, obviously, first thought from you on this one, 24-21 Steelers.
You know, when the game's on the line like that, you put the last play up, you throw it to Addison. Yes, this is his first game back, but, man, I want to see 18 at least get a target or attempt. The game's on the line, fellas, and we know you give it to your best player. I don't understand that last play right there.
This is the formula that I think we hoped for the Pittsburgh Steelers preseason, right? Like, this is what it could be. Dominant defense, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a really efficient Aaron Rodgers. I mean, 19-22 for 200 yards. Oh, yeah, and they ran for over 100, right?
Yes.
This is their formula that I think can really – this can go places.
You know what we didn't see? Kenneth Gainwell as the back. They had 3 other backs over him. And all of a sudden now this guy comes up. All he did was rush for 99 yards.
Yeah.
Like, so this is funny. But, yeah, because I was like, Kenneth Gainwell's in there. Oh, this won't be – now they finally look like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So hopefully this could be a thing that'll catapult this
and
team.
some of the things we notice about Carson Wentz, some of the problems he had in the past, ducking in the pocket, making bad decisions in the end. I think the tip ball to TJ Watt was another critical mistake. But the Steelers, I mean, when you win, this is in Ireland. All right, you're taking your entire operation across the globe. You get a win. This is almost like 2 of them. Yeah. You know, you take this back to the plane.
Guinness is on the ride home, huh?
There's so much history. So much history involving the Rooney family in Ireland, and the late Dan Rooney was an ambassador to Ireland once upon a time. And Minnesota stays there now. The Vikings will stay. They play a game in London next week, so the Vikings will stay in Europe for another game next week. Steelers get a win, and they bring that home at 3-1.
Steelers Nation, lean in, because this is the kind of rumor that can flip a season on its head. We're sitting at 3-1 after a gritty Dublin win. The defense is rediscovering its bite, and Aaron Rodgers has already shown he can still rip your heart out in the fourth quarter. But with Calvin Austin III banged up and the depth chart stretched thin behind DK Metcalf, the conversation that won't die, and shouldn't, is this. What if the Pittsburgh Steelers swing big for Chris Olave? I'm not talking about a fantasy league ad. I'm talking about a move that changes how defensive coordinators sleep from now until January. a precision route technician who fits Arthur Smith's offense like a glove and snaps perfectly into what Rodgers loves most: timing, spacing, and trust. Here's the reality that makes this more than message board smoke. League insiders have already connected Pittsburgh to the in-season receiver market, and Chris Olave's name keeps surfacing in that orbit. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano have openly discussed the Steelers as a team to watch if a high-end wideout shakes loose, listing multiple WRs who could be available if situations deteriorate elsewhere. That doesn't guarantee availability, but it tells you the league believes Pittsburgh is one aggressive phone call away from reloading at W2 in a meaningful way. So let's talk fit, because the tape and the scouting reports scream Pittsburgh. Olave isn't just fast, he's surgical, slick, economical footwork, clean stems, easy acceleration out of breaks. He beats leverage, not just angles, and that matters when defenses start doubling DK and rolling the post safety his way. In Smith's condensed formations, you need a receiver who can win the glance route, bend the deep over off play action, and separate on 3rd and 7 without begging for a pick route. That's Olave's wheelhouse. Scouts called him a subtle craftsman in the route tree coming out of Ohio State, praised his vertical separation, and you've seen it at the next level. He creates windows where lesser receivers only create contact. That's Rodgers bait all day. What does it do to defenses if Olave is on the field with DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth while Jonnu Smith is motioning to crack a force player and Jalen Warren is threatening play action? You're putting the apex defender in conflict every snap. Sit in too high to protect the sideline against DK, and Olave will gash you on digs and deep crossers. Spin the safety down to squeeze the glance, and DK gets single coverage on the boundary with a free runway. Rodgers doesn't need a track team. He needs answers. Olave doesn't give him just one, he gives him 3 on every concept. Now, what about the money and the mechanics? Olave was a 2022 first-rounder on a rookie deal. He's under contract through 2025 with a 5th-year option for 2026 that projects in the mid-$15 million range. In other words, you'd be trading for 2 seasons of team control, this year and the option year, before you ever talk extension. That's elite value in a window where your quarterback is 41 and your defense is feasting on short fields. You're not renting a sprint, you're buying a runway. What would it cost? A player of this caliber won't be cheap. You're probably talking a first-round equivalent plus a sweetener, depending on New Orleans' appetite and timeline. That's the hard truth. But here's the soft truth that matters even more. There are years where you hoard picks, and there are years where you cash them in because your roster is one matchup problem away from being a January nightmare. Look at where the Steelers are right now. The AFC North is wobbly, your defense is back to dictating terms, and in Dublin, you just showed you can grind out a playoff-style win on a neutral field when the script gets messy. If there was ever a year to turn a pick into points, it's this one. And yes, New Orleans has been under a microscope amid early season struggles, which is why Olave's name keeps getting floated by national voices, even if the Saints ultimately keep him. Let's zoom in on the Rodgers factor, because it's everything. At this stage, Rodgers is a precision instrument. He destroys you with pre-snap tells, with eye manipulation, with late isolation throws to spots only his guy can reach. That means the second option must be where the ball expects him to be, on time and on the screws. Olave's entire game is built on that promise. Think the classic Rodgers staples: backside comeback versus off-man, slot option versus leverage, deep over-off split flow play action. Those are layups when your WR wins the first 5 yards of the route. Add DK drawing the tilt, and suddenly the deep crosser becomes a 20-yard gash, not a contested grenade. Rodgers doesn't need a track team. He needs answers. Olave doesn't give him just one, he gives him 3 on every concept. You want a picture of what this looks like on a Sunday night in December? Steelers in 12 personnel, condensed set, DK outside, Olave stacked in a reduced split. Freiermuth runs the crosser to hold the hook. Jonnu sells sift action. Warren's fake freezes the second level. Rodgers peeks DK to harden the safety's feet, then rips the bender to Olave between the corner and the Moef safety, hit and stride, chunk play, drive starter. That's not a highlight reel dream. That's clinic tape with the right personnel. And don't underestimate the ripple effect. Olave's presence lets Arthur Smith dial into what he actually wants to be. Multiple in 12 and 13 personnel without becoming predictable. run first in sequencing but not run only in identity, and cold-blooded on third down. He'd immediately lighten the load on Calvin Austin when he returns, let Roman Wilson develop at a sane pace, and force defenses to declare their coverage shells earlier. Meanwhile, DK's explosive spike because safeties can't cheat. It's football geometry, and geometry doesn't lie. Is Olave perfect? No player is. There have been durability whispers, and he's taken some hits, but the talent is undeniable, and the contract clock aligns with the Steelers' win-now reality. More importantly, this isn't star chasing for the sake of a headline. It's solving a very specific problem with a very specific player who answers it. You need someone who can win immediately in the route, punish leverage, and finish cleanly through contact. That's Olave's profile going back to Columbus and affirmed in the league. And if you're wondering if this is just hype, look at the context we already live in. The Steelers just beat the Vikings in Dublin behind an 80-yard Rodgers to DK lightning strike and a defense that slammed the door late. We've seen what the ceiling looks like when the timing is right. Kenneth Gainwell churned out yards, the pass game hit explosives, and the team walked into the bye week at 3-1 with the division in reach. That's the exact landscape where an Olave-type addition doesn't just add a piece, it tilts the board. Will it happen? That's the billion-dollar question. New Orleans controls the lever. They exercise leverage on his deal structure and can slow play any conversation. But the drumbeat is real. National chatter around available receivers has included Olave in the theoretical bucket, and Pittsburgh has already been telegraphed by insiders as a team that could move if the right playmaker shakes loose. The Steelers don't need a name, they need a fit. In Chris Olave, they'd get both. So I'll put it to you, Steelers Nation. Is this the year to cash in chips for a difference maker who turns 3rd and 7 into an expectation instead of a prayer? Is Olave the piece that takes DK's gravity and converts it into weekly explosives while Rodgers feeds on timing routes and play-action daggers? My answer is yes. Not because it would look cool on a banner, but because it looks right on a whiteboard. Because it turns our strengths into problems other teams can't solve on a clock that matters right now. Sound off below. Would you pay a first and change for Chris Olave? Or do you hold your picks and hunt for a cheaper answer? Do you trust the in-house plan or push the stack in with Rodgers playing point guard? Drop your take in the comments. Hit the like if you're ready to see this offense pick up a second gear, and subscribe to Steelers Nation Wire. The North is winnable, January is real, and one smart, fearless move might be the difference between a good season and a special one.